All right, so the next step in our process of putting together these photo stories or photo essays is going to be to create what's called a storyboard. And a storyboard is where you're just walking through. You can think of it kind of like a rough draft or like an outline in ELA, right? But you're just walking through and figuring out, not only like with the last one where we put things into group and analyzed and figured out themes, but how are these themes then going to interact together, right? So we're going to, as we're going through our graphic organizer here, and this is what you're going to turn into me to get credit. Okay, so you've got your claim and your background information. This is just an introduction, right? So if you were writing a longer paper, say an essay for ELA or something like that, you'd have a claim and an introduction, right? So that's that first part right there. And then we're going to do 3 what are basically paragraphs. Okay, if it were an essay, these would probably be paragraphs, so they'd be sections depending on how much writing you actually did. All right, but we've got topic number 1, 2, and 3. And then you've got space to put in the images you're going to use. And caption, again, tells you a little bit about the image. Sometimes it's where it's taken, sometimes who is in it. It might be a little bit of just extra background information. Okay, citation. Remember, that's the source. So you want to just make sure you've got a note here about your sources. When you're actually talking, by the way, you can condense those down. So if it's for example, if it's a single photo set, you can just talk about how it's a single photo set. All right. And then at the end, you've got your conclusion. Right? You might have some images that kind of wrap it up, as it were. Right? Think about as you're doing this, right? So you've got some transitions because you're going photo to photo. You might want some sound or some audio. That's really common. Think about like when you watch movies, right? Sometimes they'll have some audio to help encourage you to feel one way or the other, right? Or think about things one way or the other. So what kind of audio are you going to use? Might be instrumental music, might be music with lyrics, right? Maybe it's just some simple sound effects, but what are you going to use? Okay, what are you going to use? And then you've got some space on this last page, not only to kind of finish answering this question right here about the audio effects and the transitions, but to begin to write an actual script, right? So if you're like me and you don't necessarily like talking in front of groups of unfamiliar people a lot, then a script can be tremendously helpful because then you're not talking off the cuff. You're just reading what you've already written. You've had time to think it out. You know what you want to say, right? So take some time and maybe start writing out your actual script. What are you actually going to say? We're going to use all of this, and it's basically going to be our pre-write, kind of like our rough draft, okay? All right, if you have questions, if you need any help with anything, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out and get the help you need. And otherwise, I will see you in class.